is basically spurred on by an article out of the Atlantic called "American Police Are Inadequately Trained." They ain't lying. Are police trained adequately? No, they are not. Does it need to be improved? Yes, it does. I've been on the record. I am for the city building the Chicago Police Department a new academy, but I think it should be tied to massive reforms in their police accountability system and in their contract. That contract needs to be gutted in the police accountability system, and without it, you can't give them that new academy. It must be a bargaining chip. I don't think Lightfoot's doing it. Okay, will it solve? Let's get back. Will training solve all the problems in policing? No. It'll make it better, but it won't. It ain't going to solve it. The solution's got to be outside the police department. Got to be outside the police department and nothing less. I wish it could solve it. I want it to be able to solve it. It can't. They definitely need massive amounts of training to make it better. But I think our priority should be removing them from many, many calls they don't need to go on. And removing them from traffic stop violations, by the way, and stop pulling people over for air fresheners, which are fishing expeditions. But we'll talk about that in 2 segments from now. Okay. According to the article, training academies in the U.S. are about 5 months in the academy and about 3 months on the street. I will tell you, in Chicago, it is 6 months in the academy, and they're on probation for 18 months, but I don't think that 18 months counts as training. They're just a probationary officer. I don't think that counts as training at all, so let's say 6 months. In many European countries, it can be 3 to 4 months. I've talked about this on our show early on with Barry Friedman from the Policing Project at NYU Law School, and we both agreed that if they're not going to bring in progressive training and change the training, like 3 or 4 years of the same crapola training they're getting now instead of 6 months is not going to make any difference. Make things worse. But 3 or 4 trainings with 3 or 4 years of training and real progressive reforms would be, it would make some pretty big changes. Still wouldn't be all of it, but it would make some big ones. The article also goes into how Biden's administration can bring up national standards for policing. I think that's a good idea. I think a lot of rural and smaller departments and smaller suburban departments could take a lesson from what goes on in Alaska, which is there are city departments, but anywhere outside of the cities, they're state police, and they go through the state police academy, and they're trained through the state police, and they have oversight through the state police system. I think smaller suburbs, if not all suburbs, and rural departments could definitely benefit from that. Little to no ongoing firearms training besides qualifying once a year once you leave the academy. Absolutely horrific. And that may have led to this thing in Minneapolis with Dante Wright, where this police officer mistook her gun for her taser. I'm not sure there's evidence she just wanted to kill Dante Wright, but how you are on the job 27 years and you can't tell one from the other, horrific. Obviously, that is if there was no intent to kill and that was actually an accident, that just means the training is awful. And remember, she was the head of the police union there. And there's no, especially in Chicago, there's really no use of force refreshers once they leave the department. Obscene. I have a source of mine on the job, and he had time to work with federal agents and federal task force, and he would say to me, like, the FBI, they get once a year, they go back to the academy and they get use of force training, and they get hands-on, how to use your hands and how to wrestle someone to the ground. They get that refresher. Nothing in the CPD. Nothing. It is part of the consent decree. We'll hope that changes things. But we really need something that changes the system entirely throughout the country. So I think a national standards would be a great idea.